Are you enjoying Disney Wish? Aren't you glad it's out in the theaters over there in the US? Well, I hope you're enjoying yourselves, because there's an entire movie that you've completely forgotten, left behind in the gutters of the movie industry right now. And since I'm a schlep that lives in the UK, and for some reason Disney Wish doesn't come out here for another 2 days, and I'd love to just pirate it to watch it anyway, that's not an option, because it's only in theaters. I can't watch it, it's not online. So instead of watching an incredibly passive, seemingly AI-generated Disney musical flop, I instead got to sit down at Netflix, and by that I mean in my own house, I do not have access to their studios, and watch Adam Sandler's Lizard movie. Look at this thing. Totally worth it, right? Actually, with the state that Disney Wish is in, maybe it is worth it. This is a movie you slept on. I practically wanted to sleep on it, but there was nothing else to watch for me right now. This is Adam Sandler's newest passion project on the animated sphere beyond Hotel Transylvania, and it's not bad. We covered some details about it from the trailer that we saw earlier on, but in case you weren't aware, let me just quickly recap. This is Leo, where Adam Sandler plays a lizard who is a pet in a 5th grade classroom. And being a long-lived little creature of 74 years old and learning that his lifespan is just 75, he has a very late life crisis and decides he wants to get out of his cage and finally see the outside world. Whilst at the same time, he ends up revealing to all the kids in his class that he can in fact talk to them. Animals can speak in this world, and they simply just haven't spoken to humans. That's the logic. And with his superior age and the fact that he's gone through 5th grade 70 times means he has the knowledge on all of the lessons and all of the problems that any kid could possibly have during the 5th grade. Having to tackle all sorts of issues such as kids that overtalk, kids that might be growing too much hair, kids with helicopter parents, and kids that are too rich. And when I first saw this trailer, I'll be honest, I was kind of into it. It's not being made by a major studio like Disney or Pixar or even Locksmith Animation. It's very much just a little side project that Netflix is spitting out because it's got a big name attached to it. And some others as well. Leo's partner in the cage is none other than Bill Burr. But to see a story that is kind of like boomer humor, since the guy is literally in his 70s, talking about the optimism of sharing knowledge to the younger generations, it comes off as a lot more endearing rather than grouching at children for being so stupid and young and owning a drone, you know? What this trailer didn't tell you, or maybe I just forgot it over time, is this is in fact a musical. Not so full on that it is like a Disney mainline musical movie, but it's very much just got a little bit of a songly twang, going more for comedy rather than proper choreography and something to play on loop all the time. I wouldn't say I necessarily enjoyed the songs. Most of them are just Leo, i.e. Adam Sandler, doing an old man voice singing while in character, and feels very much more like he's just doing it as a shtick because he feels like it. But it's still very much endearing, which is this movie to a T. Alongside the great chemistry that the two reptiles have in their dialogue, there's all sorts of brilliant little jokes and commentaries and all sorts of details, like spoiling the plot of Charlotte's Web, stereotyping all the different types of kids' problems and showcasing how their personalities manifest from their problems, and a handful of real heavy sexual references. Very direct and very much a winking to the camera thing that's clearly for the parents, but it's overt. Adam Sandler. Still, I think through and through, though you can see from the animation that it's a little bit stiff in places and certainly not brilliant quality to an astounding industry degree, it's endearing, it's lovely, and it's nice. And as a general skim through the chronology, essentially Leo gets established as the classroom pet and ages to 74. He deals with the first kid where he accidentally reveals that he can speak English, and this one can't stop talking, to which he gives the advice, just ask a question. It lets you stop talking and allows other people to like you more since they're talking more about themselves, which is surprisingly insightful, actually. Who'd have thought a lizard could be a child psychologist? The next day, Leo is moved on to the kid with a drone, and the drone's not actually his toy, it's his helicopter parent deciding absolutely everything he has to do for him, making sure he's perfectly clean, untouching any of the other kids, and because he's got allergies, is wearing a hazmat suit whenever he's at his own home. This will be where Leo then gets involved in all sorts of machinery, and because he's starting to enjoy giving advice for the kids as a new form of passionate hobby, I guess, he starts to step back from his old dream of escaping to freedom out in the wild. For kid number 3, they have a very rich and privileged life, but need to learn that they are maybe not so great, or perhaps their parents aren't so great, so they become a little bit more relatable, so that people are more likely to like them, since everyone hates the popular kid. This one's a bit of a tougher sell, but I guess I get what they're going for. There's then also a sequence where all the kids are at a giant party, and Leo helps all the animals escape because they want proper freedom, and the other kids help because they're starting to learn that the animals maybe don't like being kept in cages. And then it becomes more of a montage as Leo goes through all the other elements of the classroom. There's a guy whose voice is constantly breaking to the point where they then decide to let him just use his normal voice, which is even higher than his voice cracking version. There's a kid that's worried that he speaks in his sleep. There's a child of divorce who's incredibly clingy, who is then taught in a song that crying is for weaklings, just for them to turn around and say crying is good in order to get them to be more emotional and less quiet whenever they are outside of their comfort zone. And then when they get around to the big bully who's been held back a few years, the turtle tries to get involved and does a very, very bad job. Leo instead then talking to the bully for real about how he feels left behind and abandoned by his friends for being behind in school. It's genuinely some really strong emotional beats, and it's crazy that it's coming out of an old man Adam Sandler voice. The musical parts are the weakest part of this movie, but they're dodgeable. They're you can sort of blank them out after a certain point. There's also another plot point that Leo is telling them that nobody else knows that he can speak, and that each one of them are special for being able to hear him. It all comes to a head when the turtle, being jealous of Leo's newfound popularity and his clear unpopularity, decides to reveal to all the kids that Leo has been talking to all of them, practically cheating on all of them behind their backs. Bit of a weak story point, I must admit, but you can see where it's going. And as all the kids argue at him in the cage, their teacher, who is a substitute teacher from the teacher at the beginning of the movie, is the classic hard-ass, incredibly mean, strict, awful old lady teacher. You know the ones. Then comes to learn as well that the lizard can speak and takes him home herself. This, I guess, is meant to be like the kind of bigger reveal. It's revealed that this old lady teacher is in fact one of the students from way decades ago, and she too has her problems that she needs a lizard psychologist to get through, saying that she's not happy because she has nothing beyond these four walls. They make a couple references to past teachers smelling of weed and being a closet drunk, but generally, Leo starts to make her feel happy, and they go on, Leo now hiding from the kids because they're angry with him, as they go and get to the end of their competition for the year. Now covering educational topics with monologues of certain historical figures, whilst combining their monologues with the lessons they've learned with Leo over time. It's some smart writing, yeah. And just as the class win their trip to a big old theme park that they've wanted to go, the substitute teacher goes rogue, deciding to keep Leo out of the fun and driving them out to the wilderness. Finally, Leo can be out to the wild like he's always wanted, but he's abandoned and left behind where the kids will never find him, always thinking that they were angry at him rather than them actually being happy and wanting to see him after their victory. It then becomes a big chase sequence as the substitute teacher turns around on herself. It kind of gets confusing on which way she leans, but whatever. The kids go on a school bus to the theme park. They commandeer it to start going out to the wild in a random jungle that the substitute teacher specifically left Leo at. The turtle is also involved with a drone flying around. And as Leo meets with some of the animals he set free from the party earlier, and the kids and substitute teacher fight an alligator for a random end of movie action sequence, everyone combines, everyone's happy. The substitute teacher becomes a real teacher, although I still don't know how I'm supposed to feel about her, and Leo is placed permanently as part of her classroom pet, after learning that they might very well live to 110. He's not gonna die, he's had his time in the wild, he's made many of friends, and been an integral teacher to all the children. Huzzah, happy ending, weird musical, but very, very endearing all the way through. Are there flaws in this movie? Of course there are. The animation is a bit funky. You've been looking at it this whole time. But also, there are other things, like that alligator fight at the end. Seemed really weird and unnecessary. They just wanted a finale fight sequence, I guess. There are some lovely creative elements. The school bus ends up looking like a big monster in the jungle with its silhouetted look and being stuffed with trees and leaves. Adam Sandler and Bill Burr's dialogue as the two reptiles in the cage work brilliantly together as a great banterous barrage all the time. And I think this movie is a surprising gem. I don't know if people like it, but I do. I don't know if I'm supposed to. I just find it like maybe it's a guilty pleasure movie of mine. There are other parts that are pet peeves, like Adam Sandler's voice work is pretty good, but he reuses the same line every time he gets scared and like poses into a fearful state. He always goes, and then they use the exact same line. I'm like, ugh, come on. Like, I don't like it. It's endearing, but it's alright. It feels like an underdog of a movie. Not by any major studio. It's certainly not Disney. It's just about listening to the woes of children and covering them in a brilliant, wholesome way. All sorts of children that watch this movie may very well relate to one of the kids, and if not, you can just have a fun romp along the way. There are all sorts of lizard puns, everything related to reptiles you can imagine probably gets referenced. And though I don't think anyone's really watching this movie, it's something Netflix just spat out the same week as Disney's making a mainline musical, I like it. And it's the only thing I've got to watch for the next 2 to 3 days until the goddamn Disney Wish movie comes here. And it's not even gonna be good either. Woe is me. I'm child number 16. These are my woes. But yeah, those are my thoughts and somewhat of a review of Adam Sandler's Netflix animated movie, Leo. Have you seen this? Are you going to see this? Did you watch Disney Wish? How was it? I really want to know. Help. For now, though, I'll be ending it off here, and then I will wait. For now, my name's been Daz. You didn't really care, and I'll see you in a little bit. Why am I getting so worked up for what is possibly one of the worst mainline Disney movies that Disney has made in like the last couple decades? What can I say? I really like terrible movies.